Hey friend, and welcome back to my kitchen. So this week I am going to be taking you along with me as we make a week worth of meals, and there's just two of us. So I'm gonna make smaller meals, but if you have a larger family, you can definitely go ahead and double or triple these. I do tend to make enough for leftovers. Sometimes we have leftovers, sometimes we don't. It all just depends, but I wanna take you along with me this week and show you everything that we eat. We try to eat lighter, healthier meals most of the time, and then about once a week we'll eat something that's a little bit heavier and a little bit more rich. So that's traditionally how we try to do it. Obviously that doesn't always work out, but that's just kind of the guidelines that we try to go by. All right, I just pulled my hair back, got my hands washed. We're gonna get going on dinner. Now tonight I am going to make a Japanese barbecue salmon bowls. Now we're gonna basically be using this sauce. If you've never had this sauce, definitely give it a try. It's so good on fried rice, salmon bowls, you name it, it's delicious. So that's gonna kind of be the inspiration, and we're gonna base the dinner off of that. Now we have some really nice salmon from some friends that went fishing in Alaska. So we're going to use some of that salmon, and then we're just going to make some mango salsa type situation. We're gonna do some of those. I've been seeing them all over Instagram, the cucumbers. I think they're called like Asian style cucumbers. What else? Some avocado, and then that's all going to go on top of rice. So first thing we need to do is get our cucumbers going. And the reason for that is they need to sit for a little while. So what I'm gonna do is I wanna chop these the fancy way. So I saw this in the video. I've never done this before, but it looked fun. So basically I'm using chopsticks as a guide, and I sliced this cucumber diagonally this way, and then I'm gonna flip it over and slice it diagonally on the other side. And you use the chopsticks so that you can't slice all the way down. And it's supposed to, yeah, look at that, make kind of like a cucumber accordion. That is so cute. Okay, this is gonna be a little slow, so I'm just going to do this with all of these cucumbers. So again, I just slice it diagonally that way, flip it over, slice it diagonally this way. Now all we're gonna do is just give this a good, about a teaspoon of salt, and we're gonna just mix that around. And we're just going to let these sit in that salt for, I don't know, 20 or so minutes, and this is just gonna help draw out some moisture. We will be rinsing the salt off. Now, while the cucumbers just kind of sit and draw out the water, I'm gonna get some rice going. So here I just have 2 cups of rice, and we're gonna rinse this until we get a lot of that starch out. So I like to just use a colander, and we're gonna need this colander a little bit later anyways. So sometimes I'll just rinse it in the pan, but since we're gonna need this colander, I'm gonna just use this now. So this is just warm water. We're just gonna get some of that extra starch off. All right, that rice is good to go. So I'm just gonna dump it in here. I like to top mine with 2.5 cups of water, and you can use broth or water, whatever you want. And then just a pinch of salt. And we're gonna let this cook. Rice is going, cucumbers are soaking. We're gonna now get going on our mango salsa. I saw that if you, it's not gonna be the most beautiful pieces of mango. Okay, I wanted to try that, it works, but for a mango salsa, I'm not gonna go about it that way. It's not gonna be very pretty. So I'm just gonna peel a mango. And then I like to just cut it down. You can just kind of follow the pit. And cut around it. And then you can just kind of gnaw on this part. But I'm just gonna cut this mango into squares. This is surprisingly a very delicious mango. Let me pull out these pieces. I feel like mangoes are so hit or miss. Either they're phenomenal or they're very subpar. This one, very good. There's my mango. Then I'm gonna cut up this lime. And I love to put, I need to sharpen this knife. I love putting my mango pits out to my chickens. They just peck at it and get the rest of the mango off. And they love it. Okay, I think we're just gonna do a half a lime. Then I have this onion and we're just gonna do a tiny we're just going to use a tiny amount of this onion. So I'm just gonna cut this onion really small. We don't want any huge bites of onion. Okay, that's gonna go in. Then I have this avocado. I'm basically making like a little salsa situation to go on top. There's our avocado. Cut that up. Get a spoon and scoop that avocado in. This avocado is not as ripe as I would like it, but it's gonna be better than nothing. Okay, so this is what we're working with. Break up some of those avocado pieces. And if you have a really ripe avocado, you don't need to add it into this. I just wanted to make sure that it got properly seasoned to bring out the flavor that it does have. So I'm gonna put in some salt, a little cilantro, and just the tiniest bit of honey. This just helps bring out the natural sweetness from the mango. Give that a stir, and it has that lime juice in here already. And that's gonna be our kind of mango salsa. Next, we're gonna get going on our salmon. Like I said, this is a beautiful piece of salmon from Alaska. We got from one of our friends who went fishing there, and they so graciously shared it with us. And I do see we need to take out some bones. I'm going to take paper towel and we're just gonna dry this down really well. And then in my kitchen, I keep just a dedicated pair of tweezers, and these are my quote unquote kitchen tweezers. And I just use them to pull out these bones. So I basically just run my hand along it and you can see them sticking out and you can also feel them poking you. So then I just grab them with the tweezer, pull those bones right on out. And they should just be in that one spot. And then I'm not crazy about what's happening over here, so I'm going to just cut that piece off. We can feed that to the dogs. It's just kind of... So after I got the salmon all cleaned up, I'm just going to preheat the air fryer to 400 degrees. And then I'm going to jump over and get these cucumbers rinsed. So again, we're just rinsing that salt off of it. It adds a nice salty flavor, but when you rinse it off, it makes it not incredibly salty. So then to the cucumbers, I'm going to add 2.5 tablespoons of rice vinegar. Then along with that, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. And I will definitely make this again. I think when I make it again though, I'm only going to do 1/2 a tablespoon of sesame oil. I felt it was a little bit too strong for my liking, but I don't love the flavor of sesame. So you be the judge for yourself. Then I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of just regular honey. And then to that, we're also going to add in 1 clove of crushed garlic. This is 100% raw, so it has a nice flavor, but it's not super strong. And then I did about 1/2 tablespoon to a tablespoon of this chili crunch oil situation. It has a nice spice. If you don't have this, you could just do red pepper flakes or some sriracha. This just gives it a nice heat and kind of breaks up that vinegary flavor. Then once that's done, I'm going to jump over and make our glaze for our salmon. So again, this will be air fried. So I was just kind of eyeballing this and making it up. I went in with about a tablespoon of honey, about 1/2 teaspoon or so of a grainy mustard. Then I did about a teaspoon or so of soy sauce and just eyeballed some oil until it was the correct consistency that I wanted. Then I added in some salt, pepper, gave that a good stir, and this is the glaze that we're gonna put on top of our salmon, and then it'll become nice and crispy when we put it in the air fryer. Oh, I also forgot I put a little bit of roasted garlic in there. If you've never tried this Penzeys roasted garlic, it is so, so good. It's just nice and roasted. It really brings out that garlic flavor, and we absolutely love it. So I'm just going to take this glaze, top it on top of my salmon, and it'll definitely run off, but you want to try to get it as thick as possible. I think next time I might add a little less oil just to help keep it a bit thicker to keep it from running off the salmon. But oh my gosh, once this was all glazed, we're going to put it into the preheated air fryer basket. Let that cook for just a few minutes. I overcooked mine by a little bit, so definitely keep a close eye on it. But this cooks really, really quickly. We'll throw it in, and just like that, dinner will be served. Then to serve it up, you can do this any way you want. We just did a layer of rice, then put some salmon on top of it. See that nice coating or crust that the salmon had? Oh, it was so sweet and rich and so good. Then we're gonna put the mango avocado salsa situation on top of that. And then Sam topped his with his cucumbers. I just ate my cucumbers on the side. I'd never even honestly thought of putting the cucumbers on top of the bowl. So if you want to do it this way, I would definitely recommend just cutting it into slices, not doing it the fancy way, because as you can see, it's a little bit hard to eat, but when you're eating it as a finger food, the fancy slices work perfectly. And then I like to just let people put whatever sauce they want on. So Sam's using that Japanese barbecue sauce, topping it with a little bit of that Kewpie, I think is how you say it, mayo. It adds a nice creamy, and there is our dinner. Hey friend, welcome back. We are back in the kitchen getting going on some dinner tonight. Tonight we are keeping things very simple. So we are going to be making kebabs and a fruit salad. It has been almost 70 degrees out today, so it's been an absolutely beautiful day. So that makes me want something nice and fresh and light. So we're gonna do, I think it's, kebabs that I laid out, and this fruit salad. We're gonna do apples, oranges, bananas, strawberries, and blackberries. It's so funny, I don't know if your house is this way, but I find that if I leave fruit out on the counter, just whole, like a entire apple, for example, Sam will not touch it. The odds that he eats it is so, so rare. But if I cut up the fruit and make a fruit salad, he will scarf the entire thing down. I've been trying to get better at cutting up our fruit and just putting together, you know, a fruit salad or something like that for our dinners, just to help encourage us to eat the fresh fruit that we have. So this is just an opal apple. If you've never had an opal apple, I definitely recommend it. I would say it's between like a Honeycrisp and a green apple. They're not super sweet, but they're fairly sweet. They are so good. They're probably my favorite kind of apple. If you've never tried one, they're a little bit more expensive, but oh my gosh, with peanut butter, they are out of this world. Tonight's dinner is going to be so simple. It just requires a good amount of chopping, but luckily I find chopping to be super relaxing. I absolutely love it. It's all good with me. All right, our fruit salad is done. I did not get a big enough container to be able to mix that, so whatever. We'll just mix it up as we eat it. I was going to cut up a few more strawberries. I've been really loving fruit and yogurt parfaits for breakfast. So I've just been doing Greek yogurt, granola, and strawberries and blackberries, and that has been just hitting this spot so, so good. So I'm just gonna cut up the rest of these strawberries and throw them in the blackberry container. Then what I like to do, and you can use a regular rag, I just don't like to stain them all, is I just take a paper towel and kind of wash the board off. And then I just set this off to the side. We're gonna keep using it. Okay, so next let's get our kebabs ready. First thing I wanna do is we just had a few cucumbers left from dinner last night with that cucumber salad. So I was just gonna cut up, I had 2 cucumbers left, so I was just gonna cut them up and throw them in that marinade. And we can also have that for a side tonight. Now let's get going on the rest of our veg. I'm gonna do bell pepper And I prefer orange bell peppers for kebabs. And then I'm just going to cut these into large pieces that we'll be able to kebab. Now, I'm not totally sure if we're actually going to kebab because it looks like it's gonna rain out. So if we don't, we'll just grill it all up. Now we're gonna get going on the zucchini. Same thing, I'm just gonna do big pieces. And little zucchini work best for this because they don't get the big seed. Okay. Literally, that's done. I did wash up some mushrooms. I don't think I'm gonna cut them because I want them to stay on the kebab, assuming we do kebabs. If we end up just baking them or whatever we end up doing, I'll adjust if needed. But for now, I think I'm just gonna leave them whole. And then finally, we have a red onion. Let's see, for these, I'm just going to cut little wedges. That's all the vegetable I'm gonna put on. I also, my secret is, I know a lot of people like pineapple. I can't eat pineapple, but I like doing maraschino cherries. So we also have a container of those. I would love an actual cherry, but it's not cherry season, so I have found that maraschino cherries actually work so good as well when you need them. They just add a nice little caramelization. They make it like a little sweet to break up all the veggies. They're delicious. I'm gonna push my veg over to the side. We're gonna get going on our meat. I'm just going to take out these pieces of steak. This is backstrap, so this is a really good cut because we're gonna be eating it mostly like a steak. And for this, I'm just going to cut it in half here. And I don't like huge pieces of meat, so I think I'm gonna cut it in half again. And then cubes. And you want these to be relatively the same size and thickness. That looks good. We'll do the same with this other packet. All right, I'm gonna get this out of the way and wash my hands. Okay, now for my marinade, and this is just gonna sit for a tiny bit of time, I'm gonna use some of this garlic expressions. My friend lived in Ohio and she, I guess this was like very popular in Ohio, so she introduced me to this. All it is apple cider vinegar, oil, sugar, garlic, and salt and spices. So it's super clean. So I like to use that as kind of a little bit of a marinade. I'm gonna do a little bit of soy sauce as well, a little Worcestershire sauce. Perfect. And then some Montreal steak seasoning. I always forget about this, but it is really good. And this does have a good amount of salt in it, so that's all the salt we're gonna do. I just like to add a little more pepper. And then we'll give that a good stir. And this is just going to sit and wait until Sam gets home. And at that point, we will get our dinner all cooked up. All right, that was a close one. I almost forgot I wanted to season up our vegetables as well. I'm gonna dump them all into this bowl. If you've got like a big group of people coming over and you wanna make them dinner, kebabs is one of the easiest things. And it's so easy to make a big amount of. So definitely keep that in mind. I think it's underrated. All right, I'm gonna do a generous amount of olive oil. Salt. Get a little bit of homegrown garlic powder or home freeze-dried garlic powder. And I'm gonna do just a little bit of paprika as well. Now we're just gonna give that a stir, get everything evenly coated. And then we'll just hold on dinner until Sam gets home from work. I just got off the phone with Sam and he is on his way and it is looking very gray outside. So we're gonna just do this inside. And for that, we're doing deconstructed kebabs, which same exact thing. We're just not gonna put them on a stick because we don't need to keep them safe on the grill. There's my veggies. I did add in some maraschino cherries. And then this pan is nice and hot. So we're gonna get our steak added on. And you know, if you've been here for a while, I'm not usually very Careful, but because we're not going to grill these, I want each piece to get a little grill mark. And then I like to just dump the rest of the sauce on top. All right, and here is tonight's dinner. So we have our vegetables, our steak with horseradish sauce, our fruit salad, and our leftover cucumbers from last night's dinner. Hey, welcome back to another evening. We are going to be making a Cajun boil for tonight's dinner. So we're gonna keep it really simple. We're just using some shrimp, and then we have some of our moose brats here. So behind me, I have 3 quarts of water and 1 beer coming up to a boil. Once that starts boiling, we will add in some seasonings, but in the meantime, we need to get our potatoes and onions prepped so we can get those in as soon as our water is boiling. First thing I'm gonna do is just peel my potatoes. Now, traditionally, you're gonna wanna use like a red potato or something that will be better with the skin on, but this is what we have, so this is what we're gonna work with. So I'm just gonna get these all peeled, and then we are going to cut them up into squares as even in size as possible, and we will let those boil so that they cook down, get nice and soft before we add anything else in. All right, I did go ahead and wash off these potatoes because they were pretty dirty, so we're just gonna cut them into decent sized cubes. And if you're in a hurry, just remember the larger the cubes, the longer they will take to cook. If you want to cook really fast, you can do littler cubes. All right, that looks perfect. Now we're gonna get this onion cut up. We want this to be in pretty big chunks. We're not going for eating the onion, it's just gonna be flavor. And one thing I didn't mention is if you don't like to cook with alcohol, you can definitely leave the beer out. That's totally optional. Okay, and then we're just gonna cut these into large pieces because they're just flavor. Obviously, if someone wanted to eat them, they totally could. All right, so this is prepped and ready to go. This is boiling. We're gonna turn the heat significantly down. I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of Tony's. We'll take it off the heat. 1/4 cup of Tony's. And you'd wanna do Old Bay as well if you have it, but I don't. Then we're gonna do about a tablespoon or so of hot sauce. And you can skip this part if you don't like a little spice. And then just a splash of lemon juice. If you have full lemons, you would cut them up and put them in full, like in slices, and let those boil as well to get the flavor, but I don't, so I'm just gonna use this instead. Okay, so that's kind of our base. Now let's add in our potatoes and onions. Here's our onions. And our potatoes. And then we're just gonna let this boil until our potatoes are almost totally soft. Now in the meantime, while that all cooks up, we're gonna get our sausage cut up. And you would normally use andouille sausage, but we're gonna use obviously what we have, which is these moose brats. And we're just gonna cut these into bite-sized pieces. That looks perfect. Now I have shrimp. I'm gonna go get these strained and just rinsed off. These are tail off, peeled and deveined already. For this, I like to just take a colander and then I just rinse it with cold water just very quickly. Okay, so I just have my 1/2 stick of melted butter and then 1 garlic puck in here, and that is just going to defrost. I put it in the microwave for just a couple of seconds to try to get my frozen garlic cube to break up. To this, I'm going to add, and I'm just gonna eyeball this, a little bit of Tony's. And this is gonna go on everything when we take it out. So it's all gonna boil. We're then gonna drain off the liquid and then we're gonna add this butter sauce on top of everything. This is some parsley, maybe like a 1/2 teaspoon, a splash of lemon juice, a little bit of paprika, and some hot sauce. Stir that around. I'm just gonna dip a spoon in it and see if we're good with like the lemon and everything. I'm gonna add a little more of this, a little more lemon juice, and a tiny bit more hot sauce. Okay, it's so garlicky and delicious. And I'm confident that's gonna be perfect, so. There's our butter sauce. I just took a fork to my potatoes and they are right where I want them. So I'm gonna add in everything else. First we'll throw our corn in. We have a runaway sausage, then we'll do our sausage. And then give that a quick stir. We'll add in our shrimp. And this is just gonna cook until our shrimp is all cooked. All right, this is boiling and is been cooking for like 6 or so minutes, so it's done. So I'm gonna take this spoon and take it out of the broth. And traditionally, you would drain this and dump it on a paper-lined table, but there's only 2 of us, so we don't need to go for the full experience. Now I'm going to take this garlic butter. Mine got a little hard, but that's okay. It will melt. And we're going to top this with that. Give this a nice mix. It smells so good. All right, and there is our super simple, quick, and easy Cajun boil. Okay, so this is just a realistic dinner, and sometimes we take shortcuts and we don't always cook everything from home. So I was at Sam's Club and I found this butter chicken a while back and I just stuck it in my freezer. And then this morning I knew we were going to be out and about for most of the day, so I just put it in the refrigerator to defrost, came back, made some rice, warmed up this butter chicken, and it was honestly so delicious and exactly what I needed. So just a realistic view that not every day is 100% home cooked. It's all balanced, and we did add some of our kebab leftover veggies into this. If you have a Sam's Club, I definitely recommend this. It was so yummy. All right, friends, so it is Sunday evening and we have plenty of leftovers. We have some of the Cajun boil leftover and we also have some of that butter chicken leftover. So I don't need to be doing any dinner cooking. However, when we do leftovers, I do enjoy to make a nice dessert for us to enjoy. We're gonna be making strawberry cobbler tonight. And so first thing I need to do, and I'm just making a half batch because there's only 2 of us. We don't need to get crazy and make a gigantic cobbler. Or a half batch will be enough for us. So in this pan, I have 4.5 tablespoons of butter, which is still a lot of butter for a half a batch, but I'm gonna put this in my oven. My oven is currently preheating to 350 degrees, so we're gonna melt this. And similar to like a Dutch baby, we want that to become a little bit browned, so we're just gonna let that sit in there for a little while. Now, I had a lot of frozen strawberries, and traditionally you would wanna use fresh for this. However, I only have frozen. So what I did is I put these in the refrigerator, let them defrost, and then I've just been drying them off with paper towel. So now that that's done, and the reason we're doing that is we don't want a super watery end product. So now I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of the sugar over the strawberries, and I'm gonna give that a good mix, and we're just gonna let that sit together for a little while we get the rest of this pulled together. I'm gonna do a little more sugar. And this is the total sugar in the recipe, so I'm just taking a little bit out to add to the strawberries. Okay, so that's what those look like. We're gonna leave these here and just let these continue to come together. That's gonna be delicious. Now we're gonna get going on our dry recipe, or dry ingredients. So I have the remaining bit of this 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm gonna add in. Then I need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I need 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. And then 3/4 of a cup of flour. Golly, I'm making a mess. And this is just regular all-purpose flour. 2. This is one of the easiest desserts, and the great part about it is you can cook it while you're eating. So when you're done eating, you have your dessert all ready for you. Just mix those ingredients around. Let's get this flour out of here before I spill it. Now I need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just gonna eyeball it. That's probably a little more. 2/3 of a cup of milk. And then we're just gonna combine all of this to make our batter. Okay, now we're gonna just spoon our batter over the butter. Perfect. Then we have our strawberries here. And I'm just going to lay them on top. You don't want to dump because we don't want any of that extra liquid. And to me, the strawberries are the best part. I'm going a little heavy on the strawberries, but don't feel like you have to do this many. You traditionally want to do a pound. All right, there it is. I'm gonna stick this into our 350-degree oven for 30 or 40 minutes. All right, friend, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed today's video and got some dinner inspiration for the week ahead. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you could share this video with someone who you think might also enjoy it, that would be greatly appreciated. I appreciate each and every one of you being here, and I look forward to catching you in the next video. See you later. Bye, friend.